It's turned into a job. I mean, if you look at my Instagram account, it's kind of obvious just how much it's changed my life.
So talk a little bit about your experience and maybe talk about how you were the builder and developer of the year in 2016, the builder of the year in 2018, all that stuff. So talk about who you are and what you've done on the Roblox platform.
So I am Alex Tokarski. I'm 22 Pilots, and I've been working and developing Ultimate Driving for the past, I don't even, 10 years. I hopped on the platform back in 2008, just looking for a place to screw around with friends. You know, back then it was just a sandbox game. I realized that I could use the platform as a creative outlet. So I was just like, I'll use this to make cities, roads and stuff, because that's what I've always been interested in. I always had a big interest in like infrastructure and stuff like that. So around 2010, I guess, I started working on what you could call Ultimate Driving. It's gone through more iterations than I can count. The first game probably ran 2010 to like 2012 or something like that, and hit what was considered the front page on Roblox back in 2010, which is what really made me kind of start putting more effort into it. At that point, the front page is probably just like 1,000 players, and that was it. Yeah, from there on out, the game's gone through like 2 more iterations until we got to about 2015, which is where we are now. That iteration, that's got Westover and all that, which is the fan favorite, has been for the past several years.
With you, what kind of separates you from the other developers we've interviewed is you're kind of, in a way, it's Ultimate Driving universe. So it's not just one game. You had, I don't even know how many like different places where you could go out and drive.
There's 3 by me, 2 by a friend, and others in the works. Yeah. So the difference between Ultimate Driving and other driving games on Roblox and really everywhere else is because me and like the building crew are so interested in just like infrastructure and things like that, we really design the worlds to try to be as true to, I guess, real world highways and roads, like standards, the signage, the markings, all the like little nitty-gritty technical things that your average player wouldn't pay attention to, but it's kind of what we like to use to make our worlds more in depth. Aside that, like, because we like building these worlds so much, that's kind of what we drill in on and focus on. That's why we have like a gajillion different maps. It's because we want to keep expanding the world out more, just to give people more places to have these experiences, to make long convoys, like long haul trips possible, things like that. Yeah, I think that's what really kind of sets us apart from different games, and it's something that we're hoping to kind of have come to full fruition here really soon. We're working on getting like a whole hub system set up so that we can actually have people teleport between games.
All right. How has your life changed? So it's been 10 years, you said. How has your life changed since starting on Ultimate Driving?
It's it's been 12 years since I've been on the platform and 10 years since the game. Well, it's turned into a job. I mean, if you look at my Instagram account, it's kind of obvious just how much it's changed my life. Growing up, I was like, oh yeah, I like roads and stuff. I want to become a civil engineer. I want to make roads and stuff. Probably basically as soon as I got like halfway through college is really when the game took off, and I was like, wait a minute, I enjoy developing games. It's kind of a hobby turned job, and all of a sudden, like, it's basically just setting me up for like retirement, basically. So, I finished college and I'm like, do I really want to end up in civil engineering behind a desk for the rest of my life? Or do I want to work on, video games, kind of blend my hobby and my schooling together for something more fun for me? Because, you want to have a fun job.
Right.
You want to enjoy what you do. And, making a livable wage off of it is just a plus. So
you're kind of being a little humble with the livable wage part.
No, I mean, that's just in general. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously in my case, it's a little.
Yeah. You were one of the first developers to actually get like I guess a supercar.
I think so, and that kind of surprises me. Like, given the likes of like Asimo, the Adopt Me crew, like I'm kind of blown away that none of them have kind of splurged a little bit more, or if they have, they haven't really talked about it.
Right. My community's gonna kill me if I don't add an audience question in. Cabby Lee asks, so knowing that UD Ultimate Driving has kept a strong 1,000+ players for the last 6 years, what do you do and what have you done to continue building that community, and what do you think keeps the players coming back to Ultimate Driving?
Lately, our approach actually hasn't been working in that regard. We got on board with GameFam, and Roblox has been pushing like live ops and things like that. Like every time we go to RDC, they're all live ops, live ops, live ops. So we tried the live ops, and it ended up being so much time to just make sure that the events were set up correctly and like actually build them out so we could just program them remotely, that we inadvertently neglected like more gameplay updates to the game, and kind of people have lost a little bit of interest because of that. So it's kind of flipping a question on its head. It's what we've made mistakes on. But going back to the actual question, like just getting good gameplay updates out, getting good, like focusing it on like role play, focusing on building out the worlds and stuff that's really our bread and butter. And that's what we have done historically. That's what we're trying to get back into the loop, kind of close out on, because there's so much backlog, good content updates that we can push out.
What would you consider your biggest accomplishment on the Roblox platform?
I mean, getting a MCLAREN is pretty freaking cool, but I want to think of something that's more Robloxy. I can't point to any one real accomplishment, just short of what the game has become as an accomplishment in and of itself. Seeing my dream of building large, immersive, realistic driving worlds actually come to life and be a good creative outlet for me, but also bring thousands of people together. It's crazy to think about, like, dang, like just the impact it's had on people. I think the greatest accomplishment, really.
Obviously, to get to the point where you have a MCLAREN and Audi, you've been nominated and actually won a few Bloxy awards. None of that has come without its challenges and roadblocks. Could you walk me through some of those challenges, both personal and as a creator, that you have faced on your way to where you are now?
Personally, it was very difficult to balance college and game development. When you're at college, you got to balance, studying, got to do homework, social life, having all friends there, and then on top of that, you got to work on your game. You got to get content out on a decent basis to keep people interested. You got to get gameplay updates out to keep the game moving forward. It was hard to strike that balance during college, and I don't think I ever quite got it 100%, but I'm not in college anymore, so it doesn't matter. Right. Aside that, just technical struggles, dealing with the Roblox platform, you spend 10, 12 years on here and you get to know the quirks and the, I guess, grind points on the platform between, the studio quirks that you're like, why can't they just fix this? Or like the engine quirks, or every day's, a constant struggle against that. You got your own vision for where you want your game to go, and when the Roblox vision doesn't exactly correlate with that, you get some friction. So I don't know, it's basically just the normal struggles of working on a platform like this that you encounter really anywhere.
What's one of the toughest parts about working on a game so widely known and being pretty well known yourself? What are some challenges associated with that?
People's expectations for the game and my own don't line up so much. So one thing I'd wanted to try for a while but never really had the time to do was put in some sort of racing system into the game. I was like, shoot, I think the players will like this. And GameFam came on, and the partnership we had basically made that racing system, and it did all right. I think both I and they overestimated just how much the players wanted it. So it kind of got some traction. Some people enjoy it, but a lot of other people were like, well, why aren't you focusing on the updates that have been on the roadmap for all this time instead? It's frustrating when that happens, because it's like, I'm not trying to scam you guys or anything, or disappoint you guys. I thought you guys would legitimately enjoy this, and maybe it was the execution of it that contributed to that. Who knows? But that's that's really the biggest issue, is when the players want one thing and it doesn't turn out that way for whatever reason.
Well, what would you say your personal mission is? What's something that you would like to achieve that you haven't yet on Roblox?
Gosh, honestly, just a greater level of immersion in the games. One thing I've been working on is really basically rebuilding all the worlds from scratch in like CAD. And then my goal is to bring that into Blender and kind of build a 3D environment out. And then somehow I want to get it into Roblox and have the collisions play nicely. But now I've got like a nice smooth environment that's not all blocky, because I feel like the visuals of the game have kind of fallen behind a little bit lately. Just the physics engine really, and not being able to get exact collisions for like mesh parts, and that's something I've been yelling at Roblox for years about, and they're sort of getting it. They're getting there in a way. The most recent solution is like kind of halfway there, so I'll take it.
This is kind of the first part of that question. What would you say your personal mission is on Roblox? What's the end goal for you?
I'll just make something that I'm proud of and that brings people together to enjoy and share experiences with one another. And I mean, and on a more personal role, I'd like to set me and my, whenever I have a family up, financially, but on a larger scale, like really just bringing people together. And
this is the last audience question. It's from Mr. Scoops. I mean, is Ultimate Driving, is that your like one and only game, or do you have plans to maybe create another game in a different genre?
Ultimate Driving's been my only project on Roblox for all these years.
That's crazy to me.
The more I look around, I'm like, wow, everybody else has like jumped from project to project. Like, I don't like Jailbreak for Osmo only came out like 2017.
Yep.
Like Bereza hops around between projects. Like everybody's always hopping around, but I'm like, I've been on the same thing for 10 years. I mean, I'm not close to the idea of working on something else, but Ultimate Driving is my full focus, so I haven't really considered that at all. That'd be like something for me to play with if Ultimate Driving got to the point where I didn't need to put as much time into it. But we're nowhere near that point yet, so it's just not even on the table right now.
Well, what are some resources that you would recommend for someone looking to get into game development?
Obviously the wiki, but that's just, I benefited a lot from going through the toolbox and kind of tearing apart models, just kind of figuring out how all the pieces work together, how coding worked. That's really how I kind of learned how to program. It's just tearing other things apart and figuring out how the structure of stuff works, what all the APIs did, that sort of thing. And obviously the dev forum's a good resource too, because there's a lot of good back and forth on there, just kind of everyone learning at the same time, so.